Look here, people. Here are some sections of aluminum tubing that can be used for chimes. They make a lovely sound just as they are, but in this video, we'll demonstrate ways you can alter tubular chimes to get new and different sounds from them. We'll be talking about tremolo chimes, dual tone and chordal chimes, chimes whose sounds are enriched by their own internal air resonance, and chimes whose sounds are distinctive because their overtone recipes have been modified in different ways. To keep this video short, I'll be demonstrating the chimes, but I'll be providing only the barest minimum of additional information. You can find much more complete information in an article I've posted online, and the link for that is given here and again at the end of this video. If you want to try any of these modifications yourself, or if you want to know more about what's going on with them acoustically, you'll find that article very helpful. We'll start with the beating chimes and their close relative, the Everly chimes. Both of these take advantage of the fact that, with some modifications to a tubular chime, you can make it so that the chime is more rigid when it vibrates in one direction than the other. The chime then produces simultaneous dual fundamental pitches. An easy way to achieve these directional effects is to squash the chime in a vise, flattening it a bit at its midpoint, so that it's no longer round in cross-section. When the chime tube is very slightly squashed and the two resulting tones very close, you get a tremolo effect, a continual wavering in volume. You can make the speed of that tremolo slow by very slight squashing. Or faster with a tiny bit more squashing. You can create a nice vibrato and phasing effects by spinning the chime as it sounds. If you squash the chime more drastically, the two tones will be farther apart, and then you can hear them as two separate notes. With that, the chime can become self-harmonizing. You can also make chimes that produce many tones for a more chordal effect. One way to do this is by bifurcating one or both ends of the chimes to create fork chimes. The forking makes additional modes of vibration possible, and these new modes can sound along with the pre-existing chime modes. Each mode produces its own frequency and pitch. We've been talking about ways to add more tones to the chime sound, but we can also go in the other direction, designing chimes to de-emphasize the higher modes and instead to fully bring out and enrich the chime's fundamental tone. Strengthening the fundamental can be valuable because there's often a problem, especially in longer, lower-pitched chimes, that inharmonic overtones within the chime sound come across as too prominent and distracting. To bring out the fundamental, it helps to hang the chime correctly, to use the right sort of beater, and to strike in the correct location. But there's another, more unusual trick we can add for this purpose. The trick is to take advantage of the fact that the tubular form has the potential to serve as its own internal tuned resonator. To bring the resonance frequency of the air in the tube into agreement with the chime pitch, we can drill tone holes in the tube analogous to those in a flute. Here's another approach to the problem of overly prominent inharmonic overtones. In chimes that are relatively long and thin, the higher modes, in particular the second mode of vibration, often stands out distractingly in the chime tone, producing an unwanted inharmonic pitch in competition with the fundamental. As we've seen, there are ways to mitigate this by making the fundamental stronger. But you could also ask, Might there be ways to change the pitch of that overtone to some other note that blends in better with the fundamental? One way to do this is to add weight at a suitable point along the tube. We've done this here by drilling a hole through the tube and inserting a bolt of suitable size, in effect retuning the interval between the fundamental and the most prominent overtone. It should also be possible to tune the overtone relationships by deliberately weakening the chime at carefully selected points along its length. But with tubular chimes, for reasons I won't detail in this video, doing this isn't so straightforward. So far, I haven't found a workable way to do the usual sorts of overtone tunings. Yet I did manage to come up with the very unusual overtone tuning that you can hear in the chimes shown here. I did the weakening by making cuts partway through the chime at carefully selected points. And here's one more way to deal with problematic inharmonic overtones. In the chimes seen here, I've used a few little tricks to make it so that the first mode, the fundamental, is de-emphasized in the sound, so much so that it can scarcely be heard. As a result, the second mode becomes most prominent, and the ear recognizes the pitch of that second mode as a kind of pseudo-fundamental, providing the defining pitch. The third mode also can be heard, and with a bit of modification to the chime, we can fix things so that it comes in at the octave above the second mode, further reinforcing the pitch sense. And for our last chime set, here are the dipping chimes. If you dip the lower end of a vibrating chime in water, the pitch will drop as the water's drag slows down the vibration. The deeper the dip, the more the drop in frequency. Some of the nicest sounds come about as small movements of the water around the chime create subtle bends and shimmery effects. So there are several ideas for modifications you can make to tubular chimes. Remember, you can find a lot more information on the how-to for making these things, as well as the underlying acoustics, at the web address now showing on your screen. Tubular chimes of all sorts are among the easiest and most rewarding of sound sources to play with. So, have fun.